All right, let's get our Facebook folks up in here. Make sure I'm not clicking any Colts channels. We're going to have to do that for Colts week. Just troll them.
We might have to take those off of there. I don't think they use them in here anymore. They've got their own, so maybe we just disconnect them.
It's just going to be a mistake at some point. So welcome in, Broncos country. Good morning to you. Happy Friday, Junior, on this fine Thursday morning. It is 6:33 a.m. where I'm at, probably 7:33 where a lot of you are. But, this is well beyond the mountain time zone, as Broncos country is. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are. And good morning to you, Scott, over on the East Coast.
Well, thank you, sir. It's a good morning already, and there's football. It's to me, the weekend absolutely starts on the Thursdays when you've got Thursday night football.
Yeah.
When I was in college, they had the Thursday night college games all the time. And then, then the NFL is expanded and expanded and expanded and expanded to 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
This week, it'll be 5 days a week, which, preseason, who's to complain too much about that, right?
Yeah, not me. It's always fun to have football finally getting here. And, it does cut into my hiking on the weekends. No, it's okay. But really excited. Football is back. And we got Dave Glassman with the support coming in here over on YouTube. Good to see you, Dave. And also see him on Facebook. It's not only the orange and blue heart. It's Scott. It's the orange and blue heart with the star, giving us the easy indicator. That's bait for me. And taking hook, line, sinker with the star support. Good morning to you, Dave. Good to see you. We got EJ in the house too, saying good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Finally, the Broncos get to fight with someone on a different team. Hashtag beat them Cowboys. I saw Mike Kliss saying Cowboys fans were already there in throngs, which is one of the unfortunate things. I mean, if you are, let's say Denver was coming to a joint practice here in Seattle, I'd probably be going to that. It's my chance to see them. So they're all going to be coming out where Broncos country's had a few chances already.
The Dallas Cowboys have a big reach, but if I remember correctly, Denver made their presence well-known Broncos country when they absolutely curb stomped the Cowboys last year. So, turnabout's fair play a little bit, but I don't think there's going to be, even if it's 90-10, living here in Atlanta, which is such a transient town with such bad franchises, I can't tell you how, as a kid, you'd go to a game and it'd be all other fans, and you really grew up hating New York fans because all the New Yorkers that had moved down here and stayed, it's like, if New York was so great, get your asses back to New York. Otherwise, kind of adopt your new town, or at least be a decent guest, not we're here and we're taking over obnoxious a-holes. Sorry, triggered there. So
it's speaking as somebody who'd be an obnoxious a-hole, I had some friends who went to the Cardinals-Rockies game last night, and they said there was like 4 Cardinals fans for every 1 Rocky fan in the stadium, at least like wearing support. A lot of neutral wearing fans too. But hey, man, Rockies will be good again probably one day. So you guys got that going.
I wore my Braves shirt to Dodgers games when the Braves were there, but I was always, one, I was sober, which doesn't hurt, and 2, when anybody would start on me, I just kind of salute them and wave, because it had Chipper Jones on the back. And I just waved, and they'd say something. I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm going to do what we can, just be humble." Never had any problem. There's some rough crowds out in the outfield in LA. The Dodgers growing up got the wine and cheese crowd, show up late, leave early, type of no. The Dodgers crowds are rough, and I loved it. It was fun. The Angels crowds are the wine and cheese. I need a book to read because this is unbelievably boring crowds. So anyway. Yes, mixing in, I get it. There will be some Cowboys fans at the mixed practices, but hey, everybody get along, have fun, make a new friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, you can probably pick better than Cowboys fans. However, they're very loyal. They talk about how great you used to be back in high school. Rob Bucksbaum coming in saying, good morning, Nick and Scott. Only 2 more days until Broncos football is back for preseason. Hashtag let's ride. Absolutely excited to see that, even though we're not going to see probably a lot of the starters. It's real football, and we're going to get some more data on a lot of these guys. We can that's where Scott and I shine, when we actually have the tape that we can go back to and discuss what we saw and how it happened and why. That's the best time. Mike Gibbons, good morning, Nick and Scott. Be sure to hit the like button on the way in. Thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate you. And Jeremy coming in saying, good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. Measuring stick day, and I'm excited. Jeremy, I want to say sorry to you because I saw your comments last night. I don't know if you gave it to us Tuesday morning as well or Tuesday night, but you asked about the watching Hard Knocks with Campbell and the Cowboys, and maybe some thoughts that the Broncos coaching staff was too nice. It's maybe concerning to you how chipper they are compared to Campbell's more grittiness there. Scott. The Lions, excuse me.
Lions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But Coach Campbell there with the Lions. So Scott, do you have any thoughts on that?
There's more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
I don't say, there's gruff, there's in charge. The point is do they understand who's in charge?
Yeah.
Who's calling the shots? There still has to be that fear factor involved. And I think, or at least you've got to have one of those guys on the staff. You still need an executioner out there.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to be a problem. And this team needed a complete reset. So it needed Nathaniel Hackett as a first-year head coach. He will keep evolving. He will keep
Mm-hmm.
learning. It's not always going to be that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed first-year guy that does everything with a permagrin. It will change over the course of the next 24 months, and he'll learn on the job. But right now, this team needed that positive energy. It needed a player's coach. It needed football to be fun again.
Yeah.
And that's what they got. It's a culture change, and it will continue to evolve. But it was so far in the other direction last year that it needed a reset. So I'm not concerned about it.
Yeah, and that's one thing you see about football teams pretty often is the coaching staff hires and the identities. You see a massive pendulum swing from one to the other because, oh man, if this one didn't work, we better go really hard the other way. Not that Nathaniel Hackett was the wrong call or anything like that. It's just, nature of how a lot of these teams are built and how they reactionary. I do not think that from where we sit right now, that this staff is too nice or too soft or whatever words you want to use. Not putting words in your mouth there, Jeremy, just other things that people could say about them. I've said it on here many times. I think the most important thing for them is that their coaching style, their leadership style, their interpersonal relationships are authentic to who they are.
Right.
If you come out there and you come out as a fake tough guy, these are grown men. They're going to sniff that out of you. And the moment that you waver, they're going to not respect you anymore because they're going to tell that you're a phony, you're a fake. And I think Nathaniel Hackett is authentically himself. I do think he's dialed back like the bright-eyed, bushy-tail energy a bit, which is because we're in football season now. I don't think he can keep a bit. Yeah, a bit. It's still up there. It was that energy level. I don't know if it was sustainable earlier, especially with how much was on his plate and whatnot, and the stressors of the job. But will be interesting to see how it evolves, and will be interesting to see, first loss, coaching mistake, bad, clock decision, et cetera, et cetera. They're coming. It's going to happen. So we're going to gather more information on Hackett as it goes along, but I am not worried about the antithesis of Campbell to Hackett. Different styles, different ways to do it. As long as you are doing it the way that makes the most sense for you as an individual, I think that the players and whatever and organization will respond better to you.
So covering the Falcons, will get a little bit perspective on this with a second-year first-time head coach and how they've changed a little bit. And that was one of the things that Arthur Smith says all the time about leadership is you got to be your own self because the players will sniff out a phony in a heartbeat. And I think they respect. I haven't seen any hint of disrespect towards Nathaniel Hackett or any, oh gosh, here he is again. They talk about Russ being corny. Well, Nathaniel Hackett's got a little bit of that in him too. And that's okay. He's still the one in charge. And as long as he remains in charge and his authority is you can question authority, of course, but I think it'll be fine. And there is more than one way to skin a cat. I'll be interested to see how Detroit does. They're starting to stockpile some talent but golly, it's Detroit, there's a few of those franchises. There's one down here south that are just freaking cursed. The Detroit Lions are one of those teams.
Yep. Absolutely. DeAndre Weatherspoon over on Facebook saying, good morning. Good morning to you, DeAndre. Hope you're doing well. Greg Smith, aloha. Good morning, Broncos for breakfast. Good morning to you. Name I don't recognize as much here. Doug Young with the smiling heart face and the A. Good to see you, Doug. Good morning to you. The Fonzie. I went with the Fonz style there. Henry Winkler fan over here. William Catalano saying, I'm sorry if I missed it, but Mile High Huddle going to start podcast on Saturdays once the real season starts. I'm not sure what the plan is for Saturdays. I know that was Luke and I there for a bit. That seems like some real estate available right now. You'd have to bring that up with Chad. But Scott and I are going back again Monday mornings starting next week. So
starting Monday.
We'll be back. Yep. This Monday. So
and this Saturday, there will be a gut reaction. So this Saturday is game day. There will be a gut reaction afterwards with it might just end up being Zach doing it solo. We'll see. That's too late for me. I have a 4:30 wake up call to get to South Carolina Sunday morning. I can't watch a 9:30 p.m. local game. So I'll watch a little bit of that, put me to sleep around halftime, and then I'll catch up and we'll do you'll hear our takes Monday morning when we have Broncos for breakfast back on Monday.
100%. That's great. Gary Leeds Palmer, the notorious GLP. Good morning to you, Gary. Thank you for the support. Happy Thursday to you. He says, good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. So juiced up for the game. Go Broncos. Let's ride. Absolutely, Gary. We're excited for this. And one of my pet peeves about preseason is that, I don't think that the NFL.com Game Pass, it's going to crash for sure, right? Like there's no way it's going to be functioning for us to watch the replay. But preseason, they don't put out the all 22. Like, people are paying to have access to that, especially, football grinders like you and I. Put out the bleeping all 22. Like, I don't need to see every single angle. Just give me the offensive line one. I know there's some defensive back coaches, wide receiver coaches out there screaming at me for that one. But how am I supposed to evaluate, the third string defensive tackles if I only have the broadcast film? Yeah, it's impossible. It's so hard to do. Okay, I'll get off my podium there.
Yeah, we both had our own rants here. Mine are carpet-bagging Yankees in the South who are obnoxious fans, and yours is the all 22 with NFL.com Game Pass. They lowered the price this year. Maybe that's why.
They never work. Ethan coming in, always working for us. Good afternoon, gents in Broncos country. Good to see you, Ethan. Hopefully things are going well there across the pond, and glad you're in here. Always, the shows are much more fun and vibrant when you're joining us. We also got, go ahead. John Clay Evington coming in with a $9.99 super. Thank you so much, John. Rocking out with us, saying good morning, gents. I have had the pleasure of being in Colorado this week. Visited family and took a Rockies game. Yes, 4-1. Yes, 4-1 Cards fans. Sorry, guys. I got my 4 championship Cardinal hats there. Headed home to Huntsville today. Love Broncos country. Love you, John. Thank you so much for joining us today. And appreciate
all
you.
that success of the Cardinals, and there's only 4.
Okay,
man, hell, the Braves have 2. Jeez,
no, I'm just saying. I have 4 Cardinal hats down there, but the Cardinals have 11 World Series.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, the second most behind the Yankees.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds more like it. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I've been to the World Series 4 times watching the Cardinals. So one of the benefits of growing up in the Midwest there, I guess. US Dave, morning all. Good to see you, US Dave. Oh, and didn't want to skip Kevin Gray. Kevin, how you doing? Exciting day. Pray. P-R-A-Y, not pray. We're not praying for injuries. Pray for no injuries.
Pray on injuries, you vulture.
Yeah, God. Exciting day. Pray for no injuries. I'm looking for the offensive, defensive line. Morning, Nick and Scott. Let's ride. Absolutely. No injuries indeed. Andy Schrant, morning. Super excited for the energy we see from the team against the boys. Yeah, the boys. All right. Luke Wright coming in. Morning, Nick and Scott. Good to see you. And Michael Radkio, our insider now with the Walton-Penner family there working. Congrats on your 18 years at Walmart there, Michael.
18 years. Yeah, congratulations.
God, that's consistent. That means you must be doing some good work there. Saying good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Let's ride. Good to see Obama X. Also, good morning to you, Mac 85 City. And getting back to the comment here from
that sure looks like a Braves hat to me. So I always think of Manchester City when I see you, Mac. Mac City looks like Manchester City to me, but that looks like a Braves hat to me. So
it's definitely the Athletics. I zoomed in.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's got like the cursive and an apostrophe S on it.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, so
okay,
I went full screen. It's black.
You can be A's and Braves fans. That's allowed. Yeah. They don't exactly come into contact all that often.
No, that's true. But I think you might have to give up the A's if they leave Oakland for Vegas. Just like the other Oakland team. We just can't. That's too inbred there. And Jeremy coming in saying Rockets are a prime example of life can be like if you have bad ownership. Very grateful for our new group. I'm still pumping the brakes to be, too super grateful for them. I'm still in a trial period for my opinion on them, but definitely excited to see it. And that can get us into our first topic here today.
I'm gonna hit on this one as we lead into it. With baseball, it is a little bit different. With no salary cap, there is a luxury tax where you end up having to pay twice as much. But again, when you're dealing with 9 zeros, they don't typically care if they're paying an extra $10 million on a luxury tax in order to get a player they want and compete. if they are willing to reinvest. And that's where it becomes so important. Are you willing to take the proceeds from the league and reinvest, or just stick it in your pocket? And, the MLB is absolutely probably the worst example of the billionaire boys club, where there's no ramifications for not reinvesting. At least there's a, there's a cap and a floor. Everybody's fairly competitive in the same salary ranges in the NFL. But, you go 20 years like the Pittsburgh Pirates did from 93 to 2000 to 2013 without a winning season. Owners don't care. Owners just keep collecting that money. The only people that are getting punished are the fans. And, that's not fair. Again, whatever you happen to think of international football, the promotion relegation aspect of actually having consequences for losing is just incredible. I mean, those teams are fighting for their freaking lives at the end of the year, and it's incredibly exciting. Never happened here because there's too much risk, and people with power and money aren't going to want to risk it, and they won't.
Yeah. And speaking of not risking it, fellas, fantasy football draft season is right around the corner. It's time to get your snake looking right for this snake draft with our sponsors today. Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming, have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with code MHH. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0, the trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver ball deodorant, the Crop Reviver toner, the Performance Package boxer briefs, and the travel bag. Tom Brady didn't come out of retirement for you to have a hairy set of balls. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code MHH at Manscaped. Again, that's 20% off and free shipping if you use our code MHH at Manscaped. It's time to put the PP back in PPR and get a grip on your package. All right.
Yeah, I don't want the deflated balls either. So
No,
with Tom Brady, and so all the double entendres and stuff, and the joke reads and everything. You say snake, and I start thinking like, what the hell is that popping out of my ear?
Yeah.
So that's where the Weed Whacker comes in. It's as you get older, you start getting hair in places you don't necessarily want it, and that helps knock it out there for you. So help support the folks that help support us. Manscaped.com, promo code MHH for 20% off and free shipping.
Yeah. Absolutely. And they say like cue ESPN music there. I think they should cue the ESPN draft music. What does that one go?
Don't know. I watch NFL.com when I've got it on.
That's before the pick is made. That's the one there. It's like, how does it go? Hopefully they don't copyright us for that one. I sang it. It's a Nick Kendall original there. Carlos Garcia. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Can't wait for the season to start, but mostly for the pods for Monday and Sunday. Yeah, absolutely. I'm only on one of those days, so at least I'm included here. No, thank you so much, Carlos. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun when the season's starting, but you're not going to want to miss it either because the reaction pods when we get, like I said earlier, the All-22, injury updates, we're going to get more information every single day of the week. So excited to see that. And we got one here for you. Scott says, up the Chels. There we go. Who is it?
Spurs on Sunday.
Spurs, yeah. Tottenham.
So that's a big one big early matchup. So Spurs look good. Chelsea didn't look so good. They got the dub in a place they don't normally get it. So yeah, it's match week too.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. We got Tony coming in saying it's nice to see AFC West rival who shop at Walmart are still supporting the Broncos. Absolutely. And we got Andy Schrant with a good question here coming in because we want to talk about the Broncos ownership transition a little bit and also the depth chart and joint practice, blah, 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 all that stuff. So much news coming out now. Before it used to be, okay, we have this one bit of information. We're going to hold on to that sucker and take it for a ride. Now it's like, man, my arms are full. What are we going to go with? I need a shopping cart at Walmart. But Andy coming in, who do you think the MVP is going to be of joint practices? Could even be on the Cowboys side.
Depends on how much they turn them loose. I think they'll hold back a little bit in day one. You start getting a little chippy after you start getting to know each other a little bit. There's kind of a feeling out period, a mutual respect period that'll probably go on today.
It's only going to be one day also. It's only today.
That's what I mean. It's only one day. So we won't see too much of the fire and brimstone that you might on a 3-day joint practices where they really start not liking each other.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. So just the one day, it should be fairly conservative. If they turn Micah Parsons loose on Calvin Anderson, you got your MVP. He was coming in rushing in practices and preseason from the defensive left side. I don't know how much he lined up over there. I didn't watch the Cowboys a ton, don't remember it. But in preseason, he's been lining up on the left, which would be the right tackle. Right tackle can't handle him by himself. We're to our third name at right tackle. Billy Turner, Tom Compton, out, Calvin Anderson in. That doesn't bode well. How much do they want to challenge Pat Surtain on this side of the ball? That could be fun. Jerry Jeudy want to step up and say, see, I am better than CeeDee Lamb. That could be fun. Is Russ going to cook? It's not going to be a running back, so you're not allowed to go down and do any of that kind of stuff. Won't be a linebacker for the same reason. So look at pass rush, pass defense, receiver.
Yep. Those are the ones that stand out to me. Unfortunately, the MVP I think will probably be Micah Parsons, or we didn't talk about him. We haven't talked about him yet, but I'm a huge fan of DeMarcus Lawrence's game. I'm just a fan of the more bull power rusher types, the ones that run through you so you can play the run while getting to the quarterback. That's one of the reasons I love the Saints defense so much. They have such monsters on the defensive line that just makes the rest of the defense easy, and they just like slowly collapse and kill the pocket. It's beautiful. So I think both Lawrence and Parsons are the one that stand out to me, unfortunately, and that has more to do with, obviously those two guys are amazing talents, but it has more to do with the questions of the Broncos at right tackle. If Malik Reed is bull rushing Calvin Anderson, you're speaking of Manscaped, you're down south in the back end should pucker a little bit because that's like, what did I just hear? That's not how it works. So that's one that stands out. I also think Surtain has a chance to really shine. He's been clamping the likes of Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, more or less. A lot of hype coming out of Broncos country, but CeeDee Lamb right now definitely has the upper hand as far as the more talented receiver between Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb at this point. Judy's had worse quarterback injury. I get it, but we can only go off of what we have seen so far. And if Patrick Surtain can come out and make CeeDee Lamb a non-factor, then we maybe are starting to be like, okay, this is replicatable or replicable to multiple players now, multiple positions, even in the very pro offense style that practice can be in those one-on-one situations.
Yeah, the CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy argument, it feels like for the first time we're comparing apples to apples. It wasn't that case. Jerry Jeudy and the Broncos receivers were not in a similar situation as the Cowboys, not in the same type of offense, not the same head coach, not the same quarterback. All that's obvious, but completely different philosophies and talent and all that stuff. That is evened up. You got the quarterback, arguably, I would say I'd take Russell Wilson over Dak Prescott, arguably better over the last 7-8 years. You got an offensive-minded head coach, and you got an offense that is going to be tailored around getting the ball downfield. Okay, time to step up, Jerry Jeudy. That's what I said. Are you ready to say, listen, I've been hurt. I've had a crap quarterback and a coach that wouldn't throw the ball or run the ball or move the ball. We've got all that now. It's my time. And I think that's what we all want to see out of Jerry Jeudy this year is once the lights come on, the whistle blows, show us that you're the first round draft pick and you've got all the talent in the world, all the talent we keep hearing about.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. God, really hoping that Jeudy can step out. Hopefully everybody can stay healthy. Speaking of the wide receivers, should the Broncos trade for Jalen Reagor, first round pick in the same year as the Jerry Jeudy draft, so 2020, out of TCU, taken by the Eagles before Justin Jefferson? And how much is it going to cost? If the Broncos lost KJ Hamler again, if Montreal Washington wasn't doing anything, I'd be more interested in this. But I think that Reagor's question marks and where he wins is maybe a little bit redundant. Now, if the Eagles are looking to get rid of him for, a 5th round pick or something, then sure, bring in more talent. I'd be fine with that. But Reagor's had some issues with route running, with drops, and just I think the Broncos are looking for a little bit more of a power forward type wide receiver. And if they become available, then I might be more interested. And I liked Reagor a good bit coming out, ball in his hands, could do some things. But I think that this is going to eat into KJ Hamler's role more than anything. And you're still going to have questions about what's going to happen with Tim Patrick's vacant production.
And they've had question of quarterbacks, but he hasn't done much either, No. So which one of the reasons they want to move him. You don't want to move on from a first round pick cost controlled after 2 seasons unless you've already made up your mind on this guy. So, what would it cost? I don't know what it would cost. I don't know how they still feel about him. They can't feel great about him. So, at least a third round pick, former first round pick, 2 years removed. I look at it as this guy's been half as productive as Jerry Jeudy with more time on the field as far as games played. What would it take to get Jerry Jeudy? You're not giving away Jerry Jeudy for anything less than a first round pick right now, trying to recoup that. So half of that, maybe a second, maybe a third. I don't
It's
think
too
so.
much.
That doesn't make sense for me right now.
Yeah, way too
Not as
much.
easy as it is. I hate to say it, and this is, Nick, we go back and forth on this all the time. It just, I'm reading about, Sky Moore is killing it in Kansas City. George Pickens is just absolutely shredding it in Pittsburgh. It's one of the reasons I just don't like necessarily using a top 10 pick when you've got other options on a receiver. There's receivers, you can get them 1 to 50. It's I think it's an easier position to hit on than other places. And for the same reason, I don't necessarily want to give up a second or a third for a guy who's been in the league for a couple of years who hasn't shown much.
Yeah.
I can get this production off of a practice squad, for God's sakes. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. But no, Max, appreciate the support. I would not advocate for a trade on this.
Yeah. Not at this point for the Broncos. Hopefully KJ Hammer will be taking that one. And Andy's saying, I feel like we get Rigger if he could turn things around for himself. But again, the cost may not be that nice. And Jeremy pretty much hits a nail on the head here, saying we are in the acquiring draft capital mode, not spending it. It's a tough place to be because the Broncos are contenders for the first time in a while. But you don't really have the capital to go out there and, the right tackle would be a nice spot to get a player in here via trade. Wide receiver, another spot, replace Tim Patrick's production and style of receiver. We talk about linebacker, maybe. We talk about tight end, right tackle, defensive line. I repeated one of those once, but definitely Broncos are probably looking to shave off some players and get some capital, even if it's late, just to have more cost-controlled players on the back end. Mike Hurt coming in saying, will Melvin be able to play this Sunday? I am exceedingly doubtful that Melvin Gordon plays any preseason game, let alone this weekend. He has a foot injury. It sounds like they're just being cautious with him, but doesn't really have much to prove. He's played in the outside zone, wide zone scheme before, and he's a vet. So I don't think there's any reason for him to play. And I think it's one of the reasons that the Broncos brought in 2 running backs this week in wake of Melvin Gordon's injury. You need somebody to take the reps. So bring in some people because Melvin doesn't need to show anything.
I don't know that we're going to see Russell Wilson this weekend.
I don't think we will.
Yeah, I mean, just listening to, sometimes when I scroll, my mic goes kind of fritzy. So, but Nathaniel Hackett was asked yesterday, do you think he has to play on Saturday? And Hackett said, no, I don't think so. A guy of his caliber that's been doing it this long, I don't think it's as important. You always have to look at risk reward. Of course, you want to go out there and play football all the time. I think that's why we practice. So I don't know that we're going to see Russell Wilson. That surprises me a little bit, Nick. It does. I would think he'd be chomping at the bit. You'd have to hold him back. And you might have to hold him back to get out there. New ownership group, new regime, new everything, new quarterback. Let's take the wraps off him and just at least give a tease. So
yeah, I think it's a little different with the joint practice, though. I think the joint practice is the reps that you're going to get in the competitiveness fed in there. And then because of the joint practice, the game afterwards, I think is more of a lull, kind of going through some things. So the practice, I think, is going to be a little bit more intense than the actual preseason game. If we're going to see Wilson at all, it'll be the second preseason game. And then you'll see him rest and play, the 5th string guys in that third and final preseason game. So those starters can get essentially a bye week. But because of the joint practice, I think that it becomes even less likely that you're going to see starters out there.
If it's just one, that's the thing, though. It's just one. If it was more, but I just reading through there, I wouldn't expect. But it does surprise me just a little bit. It's probably the smarter thing to do. It's a 17-game season. If you get off to a little bit of a slow start, your schedule should be a little bit easier. It's not make or break the first 1 or 2 games of the season, but it surprised me a little bit to not see him at all in the preseason.
Yeah, we'll see. I have to say protect them. Those guys are too valuable, and the preseason reps, it's not real football. It's more important to get the tape out there on those younger guys, get the practice reps, get the evaluation. I understand that a lot of people think, starters need the reps, the live bullets and whatnot, but hopefully you're running an efficient enough controlled environment practice that the development that you want on specific situations are able to get there. If you're not able to bring the starters along via the reps in practice and in the film room as well, that probably speaks on the focus and intelligence of the players that you have in there and the quality of the coaching staff. So you should be able to bring those guys along just fine. I mean, I know it's a small sample size, but that's what the Rams have been doing for years. Hasn't hurt them very, very much at all. And they've been having a Jared Goff quarterback until last year. So, come on. See Patrick Havener with the support over on Facebook. Thank you so much. Good to see you, see Patrick. If you have any questions for us, make sure that you get in here and let us know. And we got a Chiefs fan in here. That's nice to see.
Yeah, sorry, I was clicking
Go
off.
ahead.
But Jeremy agrees. I bet the house rust's not riding on Saturday. Again, they're so excited, and with everything being so new, it just I would think that they would almost not be able to resist. But it probably is the smarter thing to not.
Yeah.
And where is this game?
Denver.
It is in Denver. See, and it's a home game too. I mean, in front of the home fans. That the fans are itching to see Russell Wilson. He'll get out there and wave his hat and sign a few autographs and thing. But it's going to be tough for them to resist the temptation. But you know what? Be patient is probably the right thing to go. And just getting back into the chat with some Chiefs fans coming in here, and I got no problem with other people's fans coming into a chat. Just chat.
Yeah.
Don't be an a-hole.
I've never been.
If you announce yourself by being an a-hole, we're going to block you. That's come in and say, hey, ask questions, be part of the community. I got no problem with that. It's fun having different perspectives on that. But if you just want to talk trash, man, don't waste our time. Don't waste your time. Go do something productive.
Yeah, your 2 brain cells are already at max function if that's your game move.
It's boring. I mean, it is. It's just boring.
Yep. Good luck with those limited amount of brain cells. But we got Bama X saying we should have drafted Jefferson or Lamb instead. Maybe. The real one that's always going to have an issue in my side is Shelby Harris batting down that ball against the Raiders week 17, moving the Broncos from the 10th overall pick to the 15th overall pick. It could have been Tristan Wirfs. All you guys, you don't want the Broncos to lose to the Raiders. The same people who are screaming about the right tackle position in all caps on Facebook week after week. Could have been solved. We just had to lose one meaningless game. But hey, at least you have your pride for that 2019 game. But moving on here. Any other thoughts on the joint practice here? I know it's just one. I know they're not going to be going the hardest in the world. Other areas that you are wondering about, and areas that you have questions about that you want the fans to pump the brakes on making grand sweeping conclusions on?
Yeah, interior line. Garrett Bowles may have given it away. It's interesting going back through just a real quick quote. It says on his impression of Lloyd Cushenberry's development, he says, "Cush, I was really proud of him. We met as a starting 5 yesterday, and I just want to tell you how proud I am of him." There's your headline right there. I mean, they basically know who it's going to be. That it's going to be. They've got their starting 5, and Cush is in it. That's what Garrett Bowles said. Can that change? Of course, but it looks like it's going to be Cushenberry. Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, has some decent interior linemen. Let's see what kind of push they get. And Tilly Train comes in and asks, "Are you saying it's okay to tank a game?" I am. When you're 3-12 and you got one more game in the season, I just assume you lose it. I would just assume you lose it. Now, going out there and purpose, I want the players on the field to do their best.
Yeah.
But, because one, you're going to get hurt if you don't. Yeah. But, if I've got a rookie or, I've got some young players, I might play some other players. As an organization. I might sub more than I normally would. I might protect some guys that need protecting instead of rolling them out there because they've got a shoulder injury. And if the playoffs were on the line, they'd play through it. Dude, you're sitting. So yeah, this league rewards you for losing. Why would anybody be surprised that you lose?
No. Yeah. And I agree with you too. Are you saying it's okay to tank a game? I wouldn't say tank is the right word, but you can go in there and use it as a preseason game. And to your point there, Scott, you have questions on the practice squad. You have a bunch of players that you'd like to get some reps in, to get some tape in. Use it that way. I think that's the way to go. And I saw somebody say new ownership group of Patrick Mahomes gets 51% of the ownership clause. I heard that might be true, but I also heard that he loses 1% every time Brittany Mahomes or Jackson Mahomes does something cringeworthy. So he's going to be at 0% ownership in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, I don't care. Again, it's boring.
Yeah.
It's the same person coming in with a different account. Dude, surf some porn or something. Do something productive with your day. It's early. You got time.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Grab some. Go hit Manscaped. Use our code MHH for 20% off. Make sure you are ready. To eventually meet someone that you're interested in, and they can ignore you for being lame.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Andy Schrank also coming in saying it's going to be important for the line today to establish line of scrimmage and come together as a unit. This is the biggest thing for me. And one of the biggest question marks before it was the quarterback position. And until you have the quarterback position, nothing else literally matters on the team. It's all, frivolous, auxiliary, whatever word you want to use. Broncos have a quarterback now. Is he going to be top 5? Is he going to be top 10? Has Russ, is he declining or whatever? Is he looking bad in practice? We're going to find out as the year progresses what exactly the Broncos got in Russell Wilson. I'd expect top 10 quarterback, hoping on top 5, but we'll see. As far as, though, the other big question in last year's game, and a reason the Broncos lost a lot of games outside the quarterback position, was because they were whipped on the offensive and defensive lines. The teams that were bigger, faster, stronger than them on in the trenches beat the Broncos, even if the quarterback play was average. So I don't know if we're going to be able to gather much information on this, really a strong one, until we're, 4, 5, 6 games into the season. And we've seen enough iterations of different teams and enough sample size of the Broncos to have an idea here. But the Broncos last year, one of the worst run defenses in football in first and second down, making it third and short pretty consistently. You go out there and get DJ Jones, but you're also playing sub 300 guys on the other defensive line spots. How's that going to work out? You are playing, Malik Reed and Baron Browning as your other edges, and Nick Bonito, terrible against the run. How's that going to work out? Question marks about Jonas Griffith's run fits. I mean, the whole front seven in stopping the run. I mean, getting after the passer is more important, but the run stopping ability and the run fitting ability is something that it's going to be a question for me for a while, and something that I am just have no idea about.
Yeah, when the thing is, they're talking about DJ Jones being in the middle. That's been kind of the plan since he was signed. The first introductory press conference says, we can move him inside and play him at the nose and that type of stuff. And I think he's better suited as a 4-3 defensive tackle or a 3-4 end would be his ideal position. But Draymond, you got both Jones guys, throw Purcell in there at times, and then see where, Deshaun Williams, you're running 900 pounds across the line in a 3, which isn't too bad. I don't think you're going to see Light and you're going to see Bonito and Chubb on 3rd and 1, on 1st and 10. I mean, Bonito and Browning.
Yeah,
you're going to see
might be better than Reed in that front.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. So if you're seeing those guys on the field at the same time, it should be a passing type of down, 2nd long, 3rd and more than 5. 3rd and more than 2 is a passing down these days.
Yeah, go get the big ones.
But again, you're right. And there's, what are you looking for? We know that Dalton Reisner can play, right? We know he can play. He's been up and down, but his ceiling is still pretty good. We've heard really good things about Lloyd Cushenberry, but what is his ceiling? Have we seen it where he's playing at his best, where it's a championship caliber center, where he's good enough to be a center on a championship caliber team? Have we seen that yet? We're hearing good things, but have we seen it? I don't think we've got a right tackle that is what you would consider a championship caliber, that could play right tackle for a championship caliber team. Now, the Bengals went and kind of screwed all that up last year by coming close to almost winning the whole thing with an offensive line that was garbage. And they could either prove that there's a new norm or they were the exception. We'll see what the Bengals did. They didn't have an OL. Name me another team like that. It hasn't happened too often.
2015 Broncos offensive line was horrible. They were playing backup tackles on both sides, and nobody said that too loud because I think Tyler Columbus was one of them, and he would eat me alive. But he was brought in, mid-season, late season, and was getting snaps. Same with Ryan Harris. All that took though was arguably the greatest defense of all time to overcome that offensive line. But yeah, you're right. The right tackle position is definitely a concern, and it's amplified in the AFC West. I've already said it. Malik Reed reportedly beating Calvin Anderson with an array of moves. Good for Malik Reed. Maybe he takes a step this year and get a big contract by somebody. That'd be great for him. Pulling for him as an undrafted free agent, of course. But if you have Malik Reed, who's not a power player, beating Calvin Anderson with power moves, what does that say about Max Crosby coming to town? What does that say about Joey Bosa, one of the best power rushers in all of football? I mean, again, Manscaped, butthole clenching here. God, I am nervous for that kind of thing. So we'll see how it plays out, but definitely establishing the line of scrimmage. And the other one here, talking about establishing the line of scrimmage, is won't really know. You're talking about the pass protection. I think you get a better idea of pass protection in these practices, but it's the run game. It's the actual physicality of the outside zone and how they have to pull that off together. I don't think you're going to get that as much in these, slowed practices. It's going to be a few weeks in the regular season until we have an idea of what this offensive line looks like when it comes to the run game. And I think that's going to be really, really important for how the Broncos offense functions this year, because I think Russell Wilson does actually need a competent, threatening run game to be his best self.
I think most quarterbacks do, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got a threat of a running game, it helps every quarterback. That's pretty universal. Eric comes and he says, our offensive line with all the question marks is still considered average. We should be okay. Should be okay. Who's that? Is it, but is fine, is okay, good enough? Yeah, it should be okay. Should be, but again, and the scheme and the threat of the downfield passing game should back people off. So again, it's synergetic that the better the passing game, less stacked boxes should help the offensive line to see less people in front of them. The scheme getting them in motion will help also let them use their athleticism, because when they're just standing up one-on-one, they're getting beat. But again, we're talking about matchups. The one that I really want to see is Lloyd Cushenberry. He's the guy I think is the key. That is maybe the biggest question. I don't expect much from Calvin Anderson. He wasn't supposed to be a starter. Okay.
Yeah.
Lloyd Cushenberry, there's been a lot of talk about him doing better. Let's see it. Let's see it. We've got a question mark at right tackle. We think we have an answer at center. Do we?
A temporary answer. But the other one here, just getting on it, everyone is real excited about Quinn Miners and whatnot. Belly losing 15 pounds this offseason to get a better fit in the more athletic, movement-based wide zone scheme. The question here with Quinn Miners for me is last year, he had the splash plays. You could see the athleticism, you could see the power, definitely a physical specimen, despite having, the belly, trimmed down belly. Maybe it's a lowercase belly this year instead of all caps. But question for me is consistency and pass protection for Quinn Miners. That was a issue for him last season. He'd get leaning a little bit too far one way or not be the best with his hand stabs and grip strength. And that's something that is going to be a question this year, especially because, God, how much are you putting on Quinn Miners in pass protection now that you're going to have issues at right tackle? It gets so much harder for you at your job, especially in pass protection, if one of the players next to you is a question mark. So now you have Quinn Miners as a question mark with his pass protection at right guard, with Lloyd Cushenberry, who more question marks in the run game than the pass game, but then massive question marks at right tackle. So we'll see. And we got Jalen 1KK coming in saying Calvin Anderson has done well when at right tackle. We'll be okay till Billy is ready. Has he done well? I mean, I thought he looked better. The main game that we've seen Calvin Anderson play was 2 years ago against the Carolina Panthers, and he looked well at left tackle, which I've always been told is his more natural spot. He's been better at right tackle this season, I've been told. But then you also have the reports that Malik Reed is getting pressures every practice, that Baron Browning looks like a star, and those guys are getting it up against the right tackle position there.
Yeah, we'll see. He says he's done okay at right tackle. We'll be okay. And you look at the list here. You mentioned some of those names. Even the teams that you think of as gimmies, there's no gimme in NFL. I get it. They've got some pretty good rushers. Even you go to Sunday, October 30th in Jacksonville now. Trevon Walker, he should be lining up on the right side against left tackle, but you can flip those guys. Chargers, Colts, Raiders, 49ers, Texans, Seahawks. There's some pretty good guys out there. And you can absolutely move them around to exploit a weakness on one side or the other. So Calvin Anderson's going to have to step up for sure, without a doubt.
Yep. Absolutely. It's going to be a big year for him. Man, the trolls are annoying today.
It's
Somebody
not
must have
trolls. It's troll. It's one person. He's very,
You think
very,
one person has
very
all these
busy,
accounts?
very active.
Wow. Well, buddy, I hopefully you find whatever gender you're into here at some point, so you can focus your energy a little bit better. This is some pent up stuff.
Handscaped.
Yeah. But no.
Nick got that. It took a second, but
Yeah.
you know.
But yeah, I think that's going to have to start to wrap it up for us here pretty soon. Jalen also saying, can you guys touch on Roquan Smith? Roquan Smith, great player. If the Broncos had excess draft capital and a rookie cost-controlled quarterback with, you know, a lot of cap space on the horizon that they could play with, I'm in. Even though I like to joke with hyperbole that the linebacker position doesn't matter, it does matter, guys. It's linebacker and safety. You can argue either way. Behind cornerback, defensive tackle, and edge rusher, though. Duh. But can you touch on Roquan Smith? Love to have him. The Broncos, where they are as a roster, like evolution wise, doesn't make sense. They don't have the draft capital, the cap space. I know we just got a new owner, but you also have 3 players coming up that could get massive deals. And I don't really know if I want to be paying extra capital just to let some guy go and only get at best essentially a 4th round pick back in a compensatory pick. So Roquan would be great. Just don't see it for the Broncos.
Yeah, and Andy asked, you know, what are the Bears asking for him? I would think at least a 2nd round pick. Yep. And he's on a $9 million and change. So let's round up. I think it was 9.6. Let's just call it 10 on his option year. And you're going to need to at least match that. I mean, if I'm him and I look at Foye Oluokun getting 3 years, $45 million from the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's my floor. You want to drop 15 bills on an inside linebacker on this defense? Not me. Probably not me. I would want to invest that money, the draft capital, in other areas of this team before I go inside linebacker.
Yeah, and reports are that he wants more money than Shaquille Leonard, formerly known as Darius Leonard, would talking about the.
I'd rather have Shaq.
Yeah,
you know, yep. I'd rather have Shaq on that one.
Yep. Absolutely. And I got Mark coming in. Well, first, Gary Lee's Palmer. So we will see first practice today, but probably not the game. Too bad we can't see the practice. Yeah, it is a big bummer. But you know, we're just getting little appetizers, little taste tests before the main course comes out here in a few weeks. And we're about 5 weeks away until that week 1 game. What is it? Oh my gosh, it's almost exactly 1 month because it's August 12th when they first play. So we're exactly 1 month until week 1, Sunday Night Football, and the Broncos play Monday night, September 12th, excuse me. So right around the corner. And Lawrence Rivera coming in and saying, "What up, my guys? Like my son now says when he's happy, woohoo!"
That's how we're gonna start the read now, just like that, Nick.
Just a very mild tempered woohoo. And we got Mark coming in here too, saying, "Good morning, LOL. Good morning to you, Mark. Hope you're doing well. Hello, goodbye, kind of thing. We appreciate you." And also Jalen saying, "Is the media not allowed at practice after today?" I think that's true. I think that it's going to be closed practices after this. So last chance. And shout out to Luke, who's been there a lot and now can hopefully take a little bit of a hibernation before the season kicks off. And speaking of not hibernating here, DWI guys flashing fuchsia, saying, "Good show, gents. Have a great weekend, and everyone. Have a great weekend, everyone, and enjoy the game." Ooh, I need more coffee. God, thank you so much, Ethan. We appreciate you. Yeah, and want to give a shout out also, Scott. I think you wanted to give a shout out to a listener here. Speaking of coffee,
yeah, his name's Patrick. We'll do more of it next week. But one of our listeners works for a roasting company in Hawaii and sent me a care package. I'd say sent us, but it just came to me, and Nick's on the other side of the country. So have to figure that out. But I just had my first cup, loved it. And I'll on Monday on both shows, because we'll be 8:45 Falcons AM Eastern, and then we'll go right into Broncos for breakfast. I'll put a link in and talk a little bit more about them, because went above and beyond for sure. So thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you so much, Patrick. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Robot of Doom coming in. Morning, gentlemen. Sorry I'm late. That's okay. It's gonna happen. The life happens, And we are going to be enjoying you can enjoy the show after the fact too on YouTube. Lawrence also coming in saying, see Nick say, woohoo, like my son was worth it. It's just, it's a lowercase woohoo there. So I gotta be in the energy of it. Colin Wood also saying, are they selling those new BSAs in England yet, Ethan? Don't know what the BSA is, but hello to Colin Wood. We appreciate you. And man, the game's coming up pretty soon. Season's coming up soon. Broncos heading to London soon. It's all coming together. And today, probably the most important day of 2022 football season to date. So really excited to see that. Again, everyone, put out the good energy. No injuries for either side, but obviously more so the Broncos. A clean one, and hopefully we learn a little bit more about what this Broncos team is going to be this season after today's joint practice. Appreciate everyone joining us today. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at BFB_pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join our Facebook community at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle. If you folks do us a big favor, go to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. They have reviews there and ratings there too, but specifically Apple Podcasts. Find us, the Huddle Up podcast, Mile High Huddle. You type in either of those, it should show up. Scroll down, leave us a 5-star rating and a review, and we really do appreciate those when they come in. There's a lot of great Broncos content producers, but we like to think that Scott and I are doing things, and everybody over here at Mile High Huddle are doing things a little bit differently with the community and just the consistency of content and different flavors of shows. So if you go there and leave us a 5-star rating and a comment, that would be greatly appreciated. And as the ticker says underneath, YouTube and Facebook, please make sure that you subscribe, like, and share, and especially share. The season's coming up. You have a lot of Broncos fans that are not as hardcore that have been riding with us, during the offseason. The excitement's getting here. We have preseason finally here. Share this show on your social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever, Twitch, I don't know, wherever you're at, Slack, saying these guys, they're dinguses, but they have a good time. And we'd appreciate that a lot too, because obviously the more the merrier.
Yeah, and real quick, I enjoy this question. And Jalen's had several. One, he says, new era Broncos fans. Jalen, I don't recognize the name so much, but I recognize the questions now. Have enjoyed a lot of these. He says, how confident are y'all in Ebro to keep up the defense to the standard? And for me, very confident, because to a certain extent, the great Broncos defense was a little bit of a mirage to me.
Last year.
If you look at sacks, turnovers, lower third of the league, they didn't get after the quarterback. They didn't turn the ball over. The one that looked really good was points against, I think was third, which, okay, well, Scott, isn't that what matters the most? Well, kind of. If this was baseball and everybody got an equal opportunity, that might mean more if you're holding the team from scoring, but it's not. The reason why they were holding teams from scoring is because they were slowing the game down to a pace where they ran about 13% less plays than everybody else. So I looked it up because I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. How many more offensive plays should you get? So Denver ran the 26th most plays last year. And they had 61 plays a game. Baltimore ran the most at just 70. In their last 3 games, talking about trying to kill the game, they only ran 50. They ran 50 plays on average in the last 3 games. Meanwhile, the Chargers ran 70. So you're talking about, what is that, 40% less plays? Well, on the flip side, it was happening the other way too. You're having that many less plays coming against you. So from an efficiency standpoint, which is, one of the buzzwords for Nick, you weren't stopping people. You weren't turning it over. You weren't sacking the quarterback. You were keeping them from scoring because you were running the clock on every possession and limiting the amount of possessions to a point where you couldn't score a ton of plays because you didn't have enough possessions to do it. But when the other team got the ball, they ran long, grinding drives and maybe kicked field goals, and they'd end up beating you. So, Jalen, I'm not convinced the Broncos defense was all that freaking good last year. It was third and short an awful lot, and it was then 1st and 10 an awful lot. And they didn't get many stops when they needed to, which is why they didn't win a ton of games. One of the reasons why. One of the reasons why they wanted to run that is because they didn't believe the offense. Lots of reasons why. But Can they keep it up to this defense to the standard? As far as winning games, I expect this defense to be better.
Yeah, and the Broncos defense last year was exceedingly mediocre with the advanced stats. EPA per play had them ranked 5th in the NFL, behind the Niners, the Colts, the Vikings, the Bengals, the Titans, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Panthers, the Cardinals, the Bucks, the Patriots, the Cowboys, the Saints, and the Bills. And then DVOA hated them even more. Weighted DVOA had the Broncos defense last year ranked 21st in the NFL. Just not a defense that could dictate very much. Didn't take the ball away, didn't create negative plays. It was they were slow bleeders, so to speak. They were an anti-anaconda because they were the ones that slowly let other teams drain the life out of them. So hopefully this year, and part of that is because the offense was terrible, so they had to play a certain style to muck things up to try to win games. An Iowa Hawkeye Classic, if you will, when the offense is that poor. Yeah, nope, it should be better this year. A lot of it is going to depend on the defensive front, and we just don't know until we know about the depth of the defensive line, the health of the starters at the edge spot. Won't know until we know. But Lawrence Rivera coming in with the support. Appreciate you, Lawrence. Thank you very much. Keeping us going here. I mean, as long as the super chats and stars are coming in, even though we did our roll through, our readout, we'll hang out still. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Kenneth comes in with another good question: is if not Roquan, do we ride with who we have or continue to kick the tires on players like AJ Barr, Trevathan? I'm not sure who that is. Danny Trevathan?
Yes.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Because he was
Or
a Bronco
someone
for a
else I
long
can't
time.
think of.
No,
You're constantly kicking the tires on guys because you see how quickly you need to replace linebackers. You went through a ton of them last year, so you're always becoming more familiar with guys. Are you necessarily trying to make a splash move? No, I don't think so. That's why I think Roquan Smith is out. It would take too much of an investment in the short and long term in order to get a return on that investment. Now, let's see, Nick, if it's 12 and you're sitting there, making a playoff run, and there's 6-7 weeks left in the season. The Bears are out of it. Roquan Smith is over there. Do we pull a Von Miller? Okay, I'll send you a fourth. And $5 million. Let's bring in Roquan for the stretch run. Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah.
That's a very good possibility. But I don't see anything like that happening preseason before the first snap.
Yeah, I think if anything, they might bring in Schobert, although the fact they haven't signed him yet maybe should speak to something, or they're going to bring in somebody after cuts happen. So we'll find out. But anyway, we appreciate all you guys coming in so much. Everyone have a great weekend. Have a good rest of your Thursday. Hopefully it's enjoyable. Again, no injuries today from camp. That would be ideal. Everyone choose kindness, choose compassion. And Scott and I will see you again on Monday morning. Until then, you guys have a good one. Go ahead, Scott.
Don't forget tonight, Mile High Huddle, Zach and Chad at 6 Mountain Time.
They're back.
6:15.
Yeah. Absolutely. Give them an air bar there, but it's always on the other end. So we appreciate you guys. Everyone have a good one. Choose kindness and choose compassion. Go Broncos.